President recognizes Senator Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like my statement printed in today's journal, please.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. I want to speak for a moment to recognize the celebration of our independence that we'll be commemorating on the 4th of July. Right now, we're a country that's torn apart. We're divided, and all sides are angry, and I honestly don't know when it will stop. Just this week in Wisconsin, a mob decapitated and destroyed the monument at their state capital of Hans Christian Haig, a man who led an anti-slavery militia and ultimately gave his life in defense of the Union during the Civil War. They then turned their attention to viciously beat Tim Carpenter, perhaps one of the most liberal state senators in that state, and a man who was actually one of the first openly gay members of the Wisconsin legislature. It appears his only fault was observing and documenting this destruction. When I heard about this, I thought about Austin Blair, Michigan Civil War governor, whose statue stands on the front lawn of our Capitol just outside this window. I read a report that suggested he left office as governor nearly destitute because he exhausted all of his wealth in support of the Civil War effort. He fought against capital punishment and for voting rights for women and minorities. Will we see the same fate befall his statue, the one that many of us pass without a second thought as to its significance? Now, we can all point to injustices that have taken place in our society, but we should not miss an opportunity to reflect on the premise and the idea and the foundation of what is America. America exists because a bunch of rebels had the crazy thought and stated the fundamental truth that our rights do not come from the king or from the government. Our rights come from God. They are intrinsic within us. Our country, unlike any other in human history, subordinates the government below the people, and we actually place civilians in charge of our military. And yes, at our nation's founding, we did not abolish slavery, but on July 4th, the founders of the greatest nation on earth tipped the first domino in pursuit of justice and equal rights for every man and woman. In fact, Abraham Lincoln, in the Gettysburg Address, stated that our nation was conceived in liberty, but then went further to declare that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom. He didn't call for a new world order or for the destruction of historical fixtures. He rightfully recognized that all of the tools needed to pursue justice were present already in our American Constitution. America will never be perfect. Government is comprised of men and women, human beings with shortcomings and flaws. Our founders never envisioned perfection. Rather, they called on us to form a more perfect union. Isn't that our quest in this chamber with the vigorous debate that we engage in? If we all agreed on everything, we would not need the Michigan Senate to make decisions on governing our state. In 1964, Ronald Reagan gave a speech called A Time for Choosing about the presidential election in that year. He recalled a story of some friends who spoke to a Cuban refugee who had escaped Castro's regime and were retelling their story. Reagan said that in the midst of this story, one of my friends turned to the other and said, "We don't know how lucky we are." And the Cuban stopped them and said, "How lucky you are? I had some place to escape to." And in that sentence, he told us the entire story. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Colleagues, join me in celebrating our country and for being proud of our freedoms and our accomplishments, and I look forward to working with you when we come back into session. Thank you.